Hello everyone, you are watching Frame by Frame. I'm your host Daniel Awir.
And I'm Josh Record. We have a tremendous guest for you today. He is a rapper, a songwriter, and an all-around incredibly skilled artist.
Yes, I'm so excited, Josh. So let's get started with Truez. Truez, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
And actually, I'm trying to change the question. What's good?
Everything. Life.
Love it.
Yes, life is good, and I am good. And you take away a O, and you got God.
So who is Truez?
Truez is a visionary, an intellectual architect. A lot of people will say the GOAT, and an herbal tea popper, and a DJ, artist, producer, performer, curator, a little bit of everything. A little bit of everything.
For me, if you are a DJ, that means you painting music. I call it like that.
I like that because you are using your hands more.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I fell into DJ by trying to be closer to music. So I've been doing music since I was 13 years old and composing my own CDs. So when you do something that long, you know, you kind of you lose a lot in the journey. So I felt myself slowing up with music. So I was like, man, you know, I still got to stay close to the art form and keep my ear into the pulse of, you know, music. So I just started DJing and kind of, like I said, staying close and creating a vibe for people, the type of music that I like to listen to that I feel like is lacking sometimes in our area. So, and that's been fun just to stay close to it. And now, like, you know, now I get to spread my wings a little bit more with my own music, but I didn't have to sacrifice anything to get there. So that's pretty good, pretty cool.
So when did you start?
Music. Oh, well, I started at 13. It was the summer, 8th grade. I got the idea,
Mm-hmm.
and going into 9th grade, I didn't do no work in high school. Like, as soon as I started high school, I did absolutely no work. I was like enamored by writing and all of this stuff, so I would write in every single class. I started printing up my own CDs before the year was out. So my whole school, I went to Josie my 9th grade year. So my whole school knew I rapped by the end of the year, and that was kind of like a crazy feeling. So my mom used to buy me, like, you print out the CDs. I had the CDs,
Mm-hmm.
so I burnt my own CDs. I recorded myself on a little computer microphone that was real tiny, on SoundClick on the computer on Windows, and you couldn't mess up. It wasn't a real recordings session, so you couldn't mess up. You had to go straight through. So I had to memorize my lines, so that helped me out, like, later on in the future. And my mom would buy me the CD covers. I put the tape on the CD covers real nice, and then I hand them out to everybody in the school. And that was at 13, 2000, maybe around 2005. And then now I'm here in 2025, and you know, a lot of people know about me and what I do, and that's just, it's something that I didn't really foresee, but it's kind of cool to be here.
Did you make money from that one?
I'm gonna be real honest with you. It took me a long time to even learn how to make money off of my music, because I didn't, you know, when you're creating something from inside of you, it's hard to price tag it. So a lot of the times along the way, I needed people next to me that kind of had that salesman mentality, because I just didn't know how to sell myself, and I give anything out for free. Like, you know, I always feel like if you give 10 t-shirts with Truez on it out for free, the next time you drop some t-shirts, they're gonna buy it. You know, they'll remember that you looked out for them for free. So I'm a free guy. So, you know, I didn't start really making money off my music until probably, I'll say, about 2013, 2014.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. I agree, because also I think we talk about this a lot. Selling yourself, it's hard. I think I start selling myself when I start working in the news. Other than that, I feel like I don't know. It's hard to say. I can sell another work, but
Yeah,
myself,
exactly.
I feel like I don't know.
Yeah,
It's hard.
it's the strangest thing. It's like, somebody might come up to you and be like, "Oh, so tell me about your style," and I'm like, it's me." Like every answer you could just say, "It's just me," and it doesn't work like that. But some people have more of the salesman mentality than they do like being an artist. A self promoter versus an artist, or even a entertainer more so than an artist.
Yeah.
I feel like when you're an artist, you gotta balance that salesman, that promoter, that artist, that human, like all of that kind of stuff has to be balanced out.
Yeah.
And I just lean more towards the human and artist aspect, and that I let everything else, like if anything comes to me, like me sitting here right now, I feel like that came to me more than I had to sell myself, and that just feels a whole lot better for me.
Yeah. All right, everyone, we have much more with Truez.
So stay with us until we get back from the break.
CD under your, or how many songs under your name?
I wouldn't even begin to count the songs, but I'll tell you, I got at least about 20 albums, 20 plus albums under my name from the start of 2005 to now.
Okay.
Which is a lot, and I'm working on 3 this year. So just I'm a writer, at the end of the day. So like I said, balancing those things out, I can't sell 20 albums, but I can write them. So
Have you created music to another musician? I mean, a singer.
Oh, when there was this artist, her name, she went by Faith. Her name is Faith. But I remember she was in 11th or 12th grade at Westside, and I had already graduated. And, she really wanted to do music. And I went to one of the basketball games. She was a cheerleader, and the cheerleading coach said, "Hey, Faith wants to do music." She started freestyling, and I thought she was dope. And I immediately went home and wrote this song called "Buy Me What I Want." And I wrote it with a female voice, and I wrote it, and I had all the physical, just trying to get into the character. And I remember I gave it to her. She killed it in the studio, and she got really very, very popular off of that. And it was awesome to see. I've written for a bunch of other people as well. I'm not going to name them because I don't, some artists are weird about that, but I actually have more fun writing music for other people than myself. So, for any singers out there, that need a writer, I'm always here. And I'm always looking for people to work with, too, as well. One of my favorite things to do.
So I think all your interesting story came from the school.
Yeah, I mean, when you're surrounded by 800 kids and, you know what I mean, you don't pay attention, you're a class clown, you get a lot of motivation, but yeah, I would say school is the start of everything. School and outside and your imagination. Sometimes the further you go in school, it kills the imagination. But if you can hold on to it as long as possible, I think that's what music was for me, where you could be 7, 8 years old and playing in the woods and make believe stuff. But, maybe you get to 9th grade and all of that goes down the drain, and now you're just super serious and playing basketball and working out every day. So now you don't have any imagination. Or you can play basketball outside at Warren Road or something like that, and your imagination of a basketball player. So you create moves, and then you create scenarios, and it's just carrying all of that everywhere you go. It's the inner child in you. The inner child in you really has to follow you everywhere. So you got to look at yourself like you're 7 years old. We're the same people that we were when we were kids. So we're just grown and got bills, you know what I mean? But the way we see the world is, unless you're tainted by it, but the way you see the world, you see how you want to change it, you see how you want to treat people, and we've had that in us since we were kids. So when I work with artists, that's all I see. I see a 7-year-old, and so it's like, yo, it'd be cool if we did this, and it'd be cool if we did that. And that's the minutia. I'm very much into the minutia of music and anything in life, really, because you know, coming from level 1 to level 10, it's fun to go through the whole journey and not just try to go to the top, you know.
So what's your favorite album?
Of mine?
Yes.
Man, I'm gonna tell you one of my favorites.
Okay.
You know this, the Nirvana one. You heard the Nirvana one with Bad Strangers on it. May, and this is everybody's favorite album that I came out with like a couple of years ago. It was probably before I met you though.
Okay.
But it's a pop album, and I thought it's me smiling and my face on a plastic bag,
Okay.
and the bag is in the sky, but I have this sarcastic smile on my face, and it's not me rapping, it's me doing pop music. So the reason why that's one of my favorite projects is because I was reading up on some philosophy and looking into Buddha and all of that stuff, and I was like, you know, Buddha basically being free from, you know, these worldly things. So I wanted to be free from me having to rap because people say that I'm a rapper, so I must rap. So I wanted to be free from that. So I look at a plastic bag where, you know, you go to the grocery store and you put your stuff in a bag. The cashier puts your stuff in a bag, and then you take that bag home. That bag got a super purpose. It's carrying your stuff, your belongings, and you put it in a car. You take it home, and you take the stuff out of the bag. And then some people stuff the bag underneath the kitchen sink so you could use it later. Some people discard, and then that bag is no more. You know what I mean? Like, it has no more purpose. So I wanted to be like that bag that's floating in the street when you're driving down in your car, and you almost wonder, how did that bag just get so free? You know, it probably got holes in it, you know, been through whatever, been outside for maybe a couple of years. You never know. And I just wanted to be free from it. So I wanted to be free from rap, and me smiling was the sarcastic aspect, like the jokes on everybody else, thinking that I have to do something because they say I have to do it.
All right, everyone, we have much more with Truez.
So stay tuned with us until we get back from the break. We got a lot more to go.
What's exactly the music industry in Augusta? Neat.
It's kind of hard to explain, but I'm going to do the best that I can. So here we go. We got, every 3 years there's a resurgence of music. But then, like we were just talking about the smoke and mirrors, there's also a false reality of what's supposed to happen within the music business. So you have people, a lot of people would be like, oh, you know, next year I'm going to make $1 million, or next year I'm going to be here. And nobody has no idea of how much work and how much money you have to put in to get to certain places, right? And then, so now you have an influx of people not doing music anymore. So you have this, it's almost like when America was being built and you have a bunch of people coming in, but like you got a bunch of people coming in, then they realize that it's harder than what they assumed it would be. And then you got a whole bunch of people going out, and it's only a handful of people that actually will keep going. Like, even to this day, I can count maybe 2 artists off the top of my head that's from my era, you know, my era, or, you know, I might have started a little bit before some of these people, but like, I consider my era, because we were like fresh at the same time. I can only count like 2 or 3. So, and we talking about in 10 years. So where did everybody else go? You know, so it's forever fleeting. There's so much talent here, but I think the way even the city is economically has a lot to do with people's dreams. So when people say it's nothing to do in Augusta, you know, that's people's favorite phrase. Well, then that trickles down to somebody who's supposed to be an artist who thinks that they can't perform anywhere. There's no places to perform. Now that person is going to perform in Atlanta. Now we never see it. So now the implosion doesn't happen. Everybody tries to explode, but there's no implosion. There's no like all four of us coming together, and then we just go around the city and do shows around the city and watch the city look at it, be like, wow, we've never seen that before. You got to give people stuff that they've never seen. And we just run to Atlanta, and Atlanta, we have done seen it all. You know what I mean? So, like, people just got to stick with it. But also, like I said, you know, it all depends on what you in it for. You know, if you are music, you're just pretty much going to be doing music, you know, for the rest of your life. That don't mean you chasing a dream or the white rabbit, but that means that you will be active, you know. And it's just a lack of activity and a lack of creativity that goes on. But a lot of talent. But it's not a lot of middlemen, too, like to home in the talent, too, also.
So that's going to take me to a question, actually. We missing something in the music industry in Augusta. What do you think?
Middlemen. This.
Yeah.
What we're doing right here, what you're doing, what Josh is doing, this right here is what's missing. It's never any avenues for an artist. If I drop the album tomorrow, how many avenues can I go to promote that album? That's the question.
So actually, you were talking a second ago about kind of the community around music and art in general.
Yeah.
And I think if you see a lot of the growth, it's what you were talking about earlier, right? Where when you have these communities local, right, that are all building each other up and all also kind of sharing their viewership with somebody else, and you see these things start to bleed, that's how you really, I think you have like sustainable growth. Right. Because you're starting off at that ground level, right? You're creating a foundation of people who are in your community with you, kind of like building you up as you go along. You see that a lot of with like influencers and stuff too, where it's that shared communal like support and foundational like growth and build.
It's like, it's classic, Josh, because you know when an you know, back in the day when somebody says, oh, I liked them better when they were underground. Yeah. That's when they had their hands on them. So artists always needs the community to have their hands on them. We have to give the community the permission and just the reins to lift us up. Us trying to lift us up on our own, we can't build that solid foundation. You know what I mean? Like, somebody could see me and be like, oh, yeah, that's cool. I've heard of them, but, you know, but if it goes away because maybe nobody had nothing to do with my success. Like, if I've been here as long as I've been here, a lot of this stuff wasn't 2014, 2010. Yeah. Never, you know what I mean? So if I make it through that aspect, then nobody's really responsible today for my success. But I know the law, the one rule, which is give it back to the community, let the community boost you up. I remember when I did Drop the Disc podcast, and I was one of the first rappers to do that. And it was so cool. And then now I still see some of those people. New people know who I am, and it's like coming at a later time, but it's like you got to make those runs. I was one of the first artists to do podcast runs 6-7 years ago. Yeah. And I would make sure I'll go on Facebook, I stir the pot, I say, man, people need to do stuff, people need to have podcasts, and then I'll get people saying, well, this person has a podcast, and it was my way of getting links. So then I'll get those links, and then when I drop an album, I'll go here, 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 here. And then next thing you know, I have prolonged this album drop for 6 months because you just keep seeing my face. Yeah. But like we talked about, an influx of stuff, and then, you know, some stuff teeter off. Now, it might not be as many podcasts as it was.
Well, it's that symbiotic relationship, right? So, like, with you, with you coming here and you're being on our show, right? Your audience, your viewership, and everything else comes with you, right? Like, maybe not every single person, but a lot of people will come and they'll watch our show, and that's, you know, awesome for us. We boost our viewership, but then also our viewership, our audience will go with you. Correct. And it just like that's how you create growth. Yes. You know, and it's just such a cool thing to be a part of, and I like seeing that these new podcasts, new venues, new avenues are opening up for other people to grow and, you know, help. Hopefully, you know, the rising tide raises all ships, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I got the faith, you know what I mean? It's just people just gotta just stay focused and be who they are, you know. And I think everything comes along in due time. I had no idea Danny wanted to do this, and then one day I just get a call.
By the way, he called me Danny.
Yeah, yeah.
If you realize that,
Danny,
and when
Danny
he
or
called me
Diesel.
he called me Diesel. Because he said like I'm working like a diesel.
Yeah, yeah. She just works all the time, so she's like a diesel truck. Yeah.
Oh my god.
All right, everybody. I hope you're enjoying this interview with Truez.
And stay with us. Yeah, I remember, Josh, when I was talking to Truez about the idea of the show, I told him we really like to create a safe platform for the artist, all type of art, you know,
Yeah.
just open conversation, you know, no filter, communicate with the audience.
Yeah.
So
It's great, you know. It's great, and it's necessary, and I feel like people need to tell their triumphs and their struggles and their viewpoints, and everybody else could feel like they're not alone in how they think about things. You know, everybody's not going to think like me, but I might, you know, ignite somebody and be like, you know what, I feel that, or I might make somebody mad and somebody work harder. You know, whatever. You know, it could be a nice little snowball effect, regardless. You know.
now I feel we have a lot of violence recently, right? We talk about this. Do you have any special project coming? Maybe you can talk about it.
In reference to, I know I want to. The Nirvana is kind of like that. It's kind of like I just dropped Nirvana 2, by the way. So the first one I was talking about a few years ago. Second one came out this year. And then I'm going to put both of the EPs together and make one long album. But it was like a soothing factor, you know, and kind of taking down the intensity level. As far as the violence goes, though, it's tough because music is a big part of it. You know what I mean? And I'm not like ignorant to that, but I'm also not ignorant to the fact that my music has nothing to do with violence, right? So, but what the kids want to listen to today is, well, first of all, spiritually, words are spells. The first people to cast spells on you is your parents, right? So your parents tell you whatever before you walk out and go to school, and then people at school tell you the total opposite, and now you're confused. So now, you know, you live under all these spells, so music is constantly a chant and a spell. So, you know, right now, we're in a cursed time period, you know, sonically. So it's really nothing that can be done except for platforms like this to show the other side of things that doesn't get that kind of press. So like if my music is not about shooting anybody or killing anybody or selling drugs, if my music is not about that, you know, I think somebody that's 15, 14, or even 12 in this city should know who I am even more than the person that's carrying around stacks of money and a gun in a video, you know? And so it's like, but that's not on me to like overly preach. That's not my position either. Because one day when I get of age, and not saying I got to be older, but just of an age where I can do it and where I feel comfortable doing it, I will move into a position where I can make a different type of change. But like music, it's not the way. You can't undo that. That has to run its course. Unfortunately, you know, when we talk about the connection between music and violence, that has to run its course. It's always been like that, you know. It's always been like that. You got, if we talk about hip hop, you know, in the 80s, you had NWA and stuff like that. And so when you have NWA in the 80s, and then riots start happening a few years later, and then you got Public Enemy in New York a few years later in the 90s, and riots are happening there, it's like music is always the backdrop to society. So wherever, if it's the 60s and the 70s and you listen to Leonard Skinner or whatever the case may be, it's all a backdrop. So what's going on, if there's a lot of violence, then the music, if there's a lot of drug usage, drug distribution, violence, gun violence, the music is going to directly reflect it. There's never been a time period where music was like so great and then the streets were so terrible. There's always been it's been even. It mirrors each other. So the day that the world starts to change a little bit, you know, like what's going on with the president and everything like that, when the world starts to change, then the music will reflect. It's automatic. It has to be like that, you know. But this has to run its course. So, you know, we're in a downslide, especially sometimes in majority in the black community when it comes to music, because we're in our downswing. But then what goes down will eventually come up. So one day, 2 generations from now, we'll be on an upswing. But it's just it's a pendulum, you know. It's hard to really explain that, but it's, you know, because it's a lot of factors involved. But as far as music and violence, it's always a mirror to what's going on in the world. Think about it. Let's take hip hop. Hip hop is predominantly purchased by Caucasians.
Okay.
But it's predominantly done by black people, right? So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's statistically, right? So then when you look at that, the money's coming from somewhere else, but the influence is going straight to somewhere else. And it's like, why the people that buy it, why aren't they acting like the music? It's like almost like they understand that it's a product.
Okay.
And I feel like sometimes when you're super heavily influenced by music, you forget that it's a product. That's what I meant by going back to the other frame. About the dream, you gotta change it because it's not the same. Like, we was being sold a product, but when we digested it like it was it's a world that we should be in, and it should not always be like that.
So, what's your message to musician in CSRA?
Work together. But understand that, you know, we're like the Big Bang. You know, when artists get around each other, we're like the Big Bang. So you can create life with that, or you can destroy. And a lot of the times throughout the years, I've been a part of, and I've seen people come together and leave worse than when they got together.
All right, everyone. I hope you enjoy our special episode with Truez.
He was fantastic. We talked about his life, his career, everything in between. He's a fantastic guest, and we're very glad that he was on. If you would like to be on the show, please reach out to us at jrecor@wjbf.com or
dalawir@wjbf.com.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next one.